The name Idi Amin sends shivers down people's spines. Called the Butcher of Uganda, Amin's scary rule over Uganda left a dark mark on Africa. From 1971 to 1979, Amin was a cruel dictator, and his actions changed Uganda's history forever. Idi Amin was born in 1925 in Koboko, Uganda. He had a simple childhood. He joined the British colonial army in 1946 and quickly climbed the ladder because he was charming and looked strong. In 1971, Amin took control of Uganda through a military takeover. At first, many people supported him. Though Idi Amin was born in Koboko, Uganda in 1925. Even though he didn't go to school much, Amin was clever and strong, which got the attention of British Army recruiters. In 1946, Amin joined the King's African Rifles. This was the start of his journey to becoming a powerful leader. Joining the King's African Rifles changed Amin's life. He quickly became known as a good but mean soldier, moving up in the army. Amin's harsh actions during the Mau Mau rebellion in Kenya made people fear him. The Mau Mau uprising changed how Amin dealt with people who disagreed with him. He became very violent and didn't care about human life, which made him known for being cruel. These experiences made him the tyrant he would become when he ruled Uganda. By the late 1960s, Uganda was having problems with different political groups and tribes not getting along. Amin, a powerful officer in the army, saw a chance to get more power. As the president, Obote, started to lose control, Amin made his position in the army stronger. On January 25, 1971, Amin quickly took control of Uganda by force. He said Obote was dishonest and only cared about his own tribe, and many Ugandans agreed. People felt differently about Amin taking over, both in Uganda and around the world. At first, things seemed good when Amin took over. He let political prisoners go free and said there would be fair elections. This made him popular. But soon, Amin showed his true colors and used fear to stay in power. The hope people had for Amin disappeared quickly. He became violent and controlling. Amin was paranoid and thought everyone was trying to hurt him. This led to many people disappearing and being killed without a trial. Uganda used to be a place full of art and smart people, but that all went away under Amin's cruel rule. Amin was especially cruel to certain groups of people. Thousands of Acholi and Langi people were arrested, put in jail, tortured and killed. Educated Ugandans were also targeted. Amin didn't want smart people who might challenge him. Amin's bad decisions and paranoia ruined Uganda's economy. He forced all the Asian people to leave Uganda in 1972, and that was a big mistake. It caused the economy to fall apart. Corruption or dishonest behavior by people in power became very common under Amin, making the poor people even poorer. The world started to pay attention to Amin's terrible actions. His brutal regime could no longer be ignored, as the atrocities committed under his rule were too severe to overlook. News about the awful things happening in Uganda spread, and people around the world were angry. Protests erupted globally, demanding action against the human rights abuses taking place. Human rights groups, which Amin had ignored at first, began to write reports about the terrible things happening in Uganda. These reports were detailed and horrifying, shedding light on the true extent of Amin's cruelty. Their reports showed a country controlled by a very bad dictator. The international community was shocked by the level of oppression and violence. Amin acted strangely when other countries criticized him. Instead of addressing the concerns, he often dismissed them with bizarre and erratic behavior. He bragged about himself and pretended he wasn't doing anything wrong. His speeches were filled with self-praise and denial of any wrongdoing. He liked the attention and said he was a hero for Africa, a strong leader who wasn't afraid of Western countries. He portrayed himself as a defender of African sovereignty. He gave himself silly titles like Conqueror of the British Empire. These titles were meant to bolster his image, but often made him a subject of ridicule. Even though some people thought Amin's actions were funny at first, the reality of his regime was far from amusing. Everyone knew he was a cruel dictator. His actions left a trail of suffering and fear across Uganda. Even the Organization of African Unity, a group of African countries, criticized him. They could not ignore the damage he was causing to the continent's reputation. The United Nations also investigated Amin's government, but Amin didn't care. He continued his oppressive rule, undeterred by international condemnation. He stayed in power, surrounded by people who helped him do bad things. His inner circle was loyal and complicit in his actions, ensuring his grip on power remained unchallenged. Aside Amin's relationships with other countries were confusing and often unpredictable. He made friends with unusual countries, often because he wanted something from them, wanted to make the West angry, or just had strange ideas about how countries should work together. His diplomatic strategies were as erratic as his leadership style. His closest friends were Muammar Gaddafi, the leader of Libya, another country that didn't like the West, and the Soviet Union, which saw Amin as a useful tool during the Cold War. These alliances were based on mutual disdain for Western influence and a shared interest in disrupting global politics. Amin used to be friends with Israel, but that ended after the 1972 Munich Olympics, when Palestinian terrorists killed Israeli athletes. This tragic event marked a significant turning point in his foreign relations. Amin surprised everyone by praising the terrorists, a move that shocked the international community. This made many countries angry and ended Uganda's friendship with Israel. The diplomatic fallout was immediate and severe. Making friends with Gaddafi and the Soviet Union didn't make the West like Amin. In fact, it only deepened the rift between Uganda and Western nations. When he forced Ugandan Asians, many of whom were British citizens, to leave, it made things worse with the United Kingdom. This mass expulsion was a humanitarian crisis that drew global condemnation. The United States also didn't like Amin and stopped giving him money. This financial cutoff further isolated Uganda on the international stage. Even though the West didn't like him, Amin kept doing strange things to get attention. His actions were often bizarre and unpredictable, making him a constant subject of international media. Idi Amin seemed to like being famous for bad things. He often said strange things in bad English, threatening and insulting other countries. People thought he was funny, crazy, or just plain bad. He gave himself silly titles like Conqueror of the British Empire. Amin acted strangely at meetings with other world leaders. He once brought bodyguards with big guns to a meeting. He also said he would force all white people to leave Uganda, but he never did. Newspapers and TV stations loved to talk about Amin's strange behavior. He was like a cartoon villain, but this made people forget how cruel he really was. Even though he acted silly, Amin's actions hurt Uganda. He made Uganda look bad and lost friends for the country. Idi Amin became a symbol of Africa's problems after colonialism. His cruelty and bad leadership showed how dangerous it is when one person has too much power and hates other tribes. Amin made African leaders look bad and gave people who didn't like Africa reasons to criticize it. Amin also scared other people in Africa who wanted to speak up against their leaders. He showed them that they could be punished if they criticized the government. But Amin's actions also made people angry and want change. Human rights groups started to speak out against him. Other African countries also started to avoid Amin because he was hurting Africa's reputation. When Amin was finally removed from power in 1979, people in Uganda and around the world were happy, but Uganda was in bad shape. The country was poor and people were divided. By 1978, Amin was starting to lose control. People were unhappy because there wasn't enough food or other important things. Prices were going up and everyone was afraid of being hurt. Amin became even more paranoid and acted strangely. Amin's enemies started to plan against him. People who had left Uganda wanted him gone. Inside Uganda, people secretly talked about getting rid of Amin. But if anyone spoke up against Amin, they were punished. Amin's downfall started when he decided to invade Tanzania. He thought his army was strong, but it wasn't. The Tanzanian army fought back hard, helped by Ugandans who wanted to free their country. Tanzania's army was much stronger. They quickly pushed back Amin's soldiers. Amin's army was poorly trained and equipped, and many soldiers ran away. Amin thought he would win easily, but he was wrong. As the Tanzanian army got closer to Kampala, Amin lost his power. He wasn't scary anymore. Even his friends started to dislike him. More soldiers left his army. Amin ran away from Kampala in April 1979, just before the Tanzanian army and Ugandan exiles took over the city. People were happy to be free from Amin. Amin's escape ended his cruel rule. He left Uganda in ruins. Amin first went to Libya, where his friend Muammar Gaddafi let him stay, but Gaddafi soon asked Amin to leave. Amin then went to Saudi Arabia, where he was allowed to stay if he didn't get involved in politics. Amin lived the rest of his life in Saudi Arabia. He died in 2003 without saying he was sorry for what he did. Some people were happy he was dead, but others didn't care. Idi Amin's actions show how terrible things can happen when one person has too much power and how easily peace can be destroyed. His 8 years of cruel rule hurt Uganda deeply. No one knows exactly how many people died because of Amin. It could be tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands. Many people just disappeared. Later, mass graves were found, showing how many people Amin had killed. Amin also ruined Uganda's economy. He forced Asian people to leave and made bad decisions about money, making Uganda very poor. Businesses closed and smart people left the country. Amin's cruelty also hurt people's minds. People were afraid and didn't trust each other. This fear lasted a long time, even after Amin was gone. Even after all the terrible things that happened, the people of Uganda were strong and wanted to rebuild their country. When Amin was removed from power in 1979, it was just the beginning of a long process of fixing things. At first, people were happy, but also unsure about the future. Uganda was in bad shape. The new government had a lot of work to do to fix the country. It was hard to rebuild Uganda. There were still problems with the government, the economy, and the memories of what Amin had done. But the people of Uganda worked hard to make things better. Slowly, Uganda started to get better. The economy improved, buildings were fixed, and life started to feel normal again. People still remembered what Amin did, but it wasn't the only thing they thought about anymore. The story of Idi Amin shows that people can be good and bad, often at the same time. His rule over Uganda is a stark reminder of how power can corrupt and lead to devastating consequences. He hurt Uganda very badly, leaving behind a trail of destruction and suffering that affected countless lives. But even after all of that, the people of Uganda were strong and rebuilt their country. They showed incredible resilience and determination to overcome the hardships. Amin's story also shows that even in very bad times, people can still have hope. Hope is a powerful force that can drive people to achieve the seemingly impossible. Amin lost power because he was too confident and because people were brave enough to fight against him. His downfall was a result of his own hubris and the courage of those who stood up to him. This shows that too much power is dangerous. When power is unchecked, it can lead to tyranny and oppression. Other countries should learn from what happened in Uganda and do more to protect people from cruel leaders. It is a lesson in the importance of vigilance and the need for international solidarity. Today, Uganda is doing much better. The nation has made significant strides in rebuilding and progressing towards a brighter future. The economy is growing, and the country is becoming more democratic. These positive changes are a testament to the resilience and hard work of the Ugandan people. The bad memories of Amin are fading, and people are hopeful about the future. The new generation is looking forward with optimism and a desire to build a better nation. Uganda's story shows that even after terrible things happen, people can recover and build a better future. It is a powerful example of human resilience and the ability to overcome adversity. We should learn from the past and be kind to each other so that terrible things like what happened in Uganda never happen again. By fostering understanding and compassion, we can create a more just and peaceful world.